there! Do you love playing video games, but are bored of using the regular controller? Then we have just what you need! Introducing third-party controllers! Never be bored playing a computer game ever again! Be fully immersed with our unique controllers! Want to be a pro skateboarder without learning how to actually skateboard? Now you can! Want to drive fast cars just like the pros do? It's just that easy! Ever wondered what it feels like to use a chainsaw against people? Go ahead and rip and tear with our unique design! We have a controller for every occasion, so why not call now? But wait, there's even more! Order within the next 15 minutes and we'll give you a bonus! So what are you waiting for? Go online and order now! Tom at Jakejames Gaming cannot be held accountable for the quality of said product. No returns or refunds offered. Payment is media. You may or may not receive any items whatsoever. Choice of controller not optional. Should you not receive your order within 28 days, don't even bother trying to find out where it is. We won't help you. All major credit cards accepted. Tom from Jakejames Gaming here, and as you can see from that lovely infomercial trying to sell you a bunch of crap, I own quite a lot of third-party controllers. I'm sure most of you have used a non-official controller at some point, whether it's because you have a sibling and you need an extra one, or you've been around a friend's house and they're too cheap to buy an official controller. Some can be much better than the standard controller that the console comes with, while others can be absolute garbage. And then there's a bunch that are designed for specific games in mind. But how well do they work with the games they're meant to be played with? And can they be used to play other games that they weren't meant to be played with? So with my lovely selection of controllers that I already own in my collection, and with some that I've just added, let's see how well they all fare. Spoiler warning, some of these are absolute torture. First up is some controllers that are meant to be intended for racing games. Now you could just buy a steering wheel, that would be the sensible option, but do you really have the space for one? No, of course you don't. You're like me and you don't have space to do anything whatsoever, and it's taken you 3 weeks to try and tidy a room up just to do one specific video. No, instead, why not invest in a Jog-Con? You see, the whole point with this is that this has force feedback, and so by making your fingers go back and forth, it replicates the same idea you would have with a steering wheel. Now I know I'm taking the piss out of this quite a bit, but to be fair, this actually works really well, and for the main game that it's meant to be used with, Ridge Racer Type 4, it does actually do a really good job. And unlike some of these other controllers, the fact that it has all the regular buttons in the normal place as well means that you can use it for any other game that you want as well. Just good luck trying to make this work with, say, something like Resident Evil. Next we have the Nedcon, or Neocon. I'm not actually sure how you pronounce this one. Is it Neo? Nedcon? Next we have the Nedcon, another controller designed by Namco. Again, this one can be used with most of the Ridge Racer titles, but unlike the Jog-Con, this one actually splits in the middle. And unlike the Jog-Con again, it's kind of missing a few buttons, namely the L2 and the R2. Because this is designed specifically for racing games, this might be quite a laugh trying to play Street Fighter with it, if it even registers. But really, if you were looking to play a racing game, why would you bother with those two or a regular steering wheel, when you can have an RC controller that he's got his foot on the cable for? This controller mimics the sort of controllers you would get with an RC car, I assume, because I've not used one in about 20 years. You've got the dial up here to actually turn left and right, you've got triggers for acceleration and brake, and you also do have a D-pad with full buttons on the bottom, and on the actual base of it as well. Now the cool thing with this one is that it's fully programmable, and when I mean fully programmable, you can move anything to whatever you want, regardless of whether the game has the settings for it or not. I've already tried playing Street Fighter with this one, and let me just tell you, it actually hurts to try and play with this. Yeah, it's cool that it's got all the buttons, but this D-pad is super sharp, and super stiff, and super small, so those three supers combined do not make for a fun time. Speaking of fighting games, here's the wu-tang controller. Now, this thing hurts as well. I've only got childlike hands, so actually trying to grip and use this thing is nigh on impossible for me. Though to be fair, the actual D-pad and buttons do have a good feel to them, and it's not actually that hard to play games with it. In all honesty, this is just a regular controller in the Wu-Tang Clan symbol shape, and because of that, I expect great things from it. Even though I've never actually used this controller since I bought it, and you can see from the damage, I'm not even sure it even works. Speaking of things I've never even used once, here's a dance pad controller that I bought off eBay for about £5 or £6. See, I didn't want to have to dance around on a camera. I've done some stupid things, but I'm not prepared to do that. So instead I thought, well, this seems like a good idea, and it's super cheap, and it's brand new, so it's got to work. I'm sure trying to aim with a game like Resident Evil, or even trying to throw a Hadouken in Street Fighter is just going to be a walk in the park with this one. Speaking of Resident Evil, here's the Ascii Resident Evil 2 controller. I didn't manage to get this one in the box, and the prices have actually jumped up a lot since I purchased this one quite a while ago. The idea is that it's shaped like the guns, so you've got the grip and the trigger up here for actually trying to shoot in the game. The face buttons have all been changed around as well, so they're not actually on the top, they're just on front where you would need them. I've never actually tried playing it with Resident Evil, so it might work really well, although years of playing the same game over and over again with the normal button layout will probably screw me over trying to use this. Same goes for trying to play any other game. I'm sure it's going to work fine with something maybe like Street Fighter, but God knows how it's going to work in something like Ridge Racer. And again, this is just another pad that's basically just been designed in a different way, so it should in theory work fine with the other games. And you can't do Resident Evil controllers without one of these bad boys. This Resident Evil 4 chainsaw inspired controller is probably my favourite one in the collection, and it's really not hard to see why. The fact that you can start by pulling on the rip card and then the whole thing starts rumbling and making noises, as well as the fact that it's motion sensitive as well, is a really gimmicky but cool idea. And because this is mapped to different buttons by moving it up and down, it also means you can use it in other games as well. So much like the dance pad, I'm pretty sure I should be able to win a few rounds in Street Fighter with this one. Or I'm going to look like a complete idiot trying to, which is more than likely what will happen. Here's a mouse. It does mouse related things. Not even sure it's going to work with any of the other games that I own. Had to buy one game specifically just to make sure that we could put it in the video. And finally, the best item that I managed to get for the low price of about £3 actually in the box, which is just behind the camera, the 4Gamers Crap Skateboard. If you've ever had a go on Tony Hawk's Ride where you can actually move the controller around on the floor, grab it with the sensors, this is nothing like that. This moves left and right, and you have two big ass buttons for down and up. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, how would you pull off any tricks then? Well, that's because you need to actually plug in a controller to make this work, making this completely pointless to even use. But how's it going to work with all the other games? I've already tried it with Tony Hawk's and it was goddamn awful, so I'm sure it's going to be great with all the other games. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Tom, you've got a load of rubbish controllers here, what was the point of spending all this money? But at the same time, where's light guns? Well, I own a crap ton of light guns as well, but they all kind of have differences between them, and to be honest, I know that half of them aren't going to work with the games that I've chosen. There's only the odd one that has a D-pad on the back so you can actually use it with other games outside of light gun games. So that'll be another video for another time. But for the meantime, let's crack on with this bollocks. Now, I do love Ridge Racer Type 4, but one of the annoying things that always pissed me off when I was younger is the fact that this is one of those games where the circle is the confirm button and cross is the back button. I understand that's the norm in Japan, even though it's not the norm for PlayStation 5 going forward, but it's still really irritating to always boot it up and forget it instantly. Now the first thing to do is to go into the settings and just make sure that you've got the Nedcon or the Joy-Con selected. You can also calibrate them too, which is really the best way you should do it. This way you can make sure you've got it as sensitive as you like it and as strong force feedback as well. And to make sure it's fair for all the controllers, I'm going to use the same settings for every single one. So basically I'm just going to keep mashing the circle button and we're just going to keep going through until it selects whatever the hell's meant to be going on the screen.
3, 2, 1, go! Here we go! 3 laps to go.
Now one thing I should say with this is that it can be a little bit awkward to get used to begin with. I'm not particularly great with this, and as you can see at the bottom of the screen, it's showing how the Joy-Con is actually moving. I'm only moving it very slightly, but the whole thing seems to keep spinning out. Oh. Can't believe I actually managed to do that first time. Now it can take some time to get used to calibrating it properly. I've already felt that I should have probably made it not go in the medium settings because it doesn't seem like it's going as far to the left and right as I want, and it's adding a lot of resistance to try and turn that, which is jamming into my thumb. But somehow I'm actually managing to make these corners, which is really quite weird considering how many times I've played this and I always seem to balls this game up. So to be honest, I knew this was going to work already. I've played this loads with this game, even though that's showing that I'm really quite bad at it. Time for the Nedcon, which I've never used before. Now considering I've never used this before, and also the buttons are labelled 1, 2, A and B, I haven't really got a clue which one's actually circle. I probably could look in the manual, but we're just going to guess. The other cool thing with Ridge Racer is that it knows which controller you've got plugged in, so you don't have to faff around choosing is it this one or that one. I should say while it's loading up, all of these buttons have massive amounts of travel on them. I mean, they really do go down quite a fair distance, but the only ones you're going to be using are the accelerator and the brake button here, unless you swap it to this way round.
3, 2, 1,
Right then, first corner, which way's left? That way? Yeah. Huh, that's not actually that hard. I feel like I'm already doing better than I did with the Joy-Con controller. But really, it's about taking this corner properly. Oh no, it's the other way. That's what happens when you're too confident about stuff. No, it's that way. So yeah, the main issue with this controller is just trying to remember which way you have to twist to actually make the car turn the direction you want. But it does work really well when you're not slamming into walls like I am currently. Right then, next big corner. It's that way. Ooh. Nice. Yeah, I like this. This is one of those things where I think if you were to play for it longer than the 40 seconds or what's it, 1 minute and 27 I've been playing with it now, you could probably get the hang of it really well. Well, that worked better than expected. Time for the Ascii controller. Now, as I said in the intro, the thing with this thing is that you can actually set what type of controller you've got it as. So at the moment it's set as a DualShock controller because I was pressing around with Street Fighter, but you can actually change it to the Joy-Con or a Nedcon. I'm going to set it to be an analog Joy-Con controller because really that's what you want it to do. You want the force feedback up here and you also want it to actually work the same. Now, unlike in the settings where I can change the buttons, instead I'm actually going to remap the buttons onto these triggers here because it's easier to do it on the controller than it is to do it in the game. I said easy, but I lied, that took way longer. Now, this does feel a little bit weird when you first are trying to use it. It's kind of the same as with the Nedcon, that you kind of have to remember which way round this thing actually turns for the direction that you spin the wheel at the top. It also vibrates like hell all of the time, which is cool but insanely off-putting as well. Right then. I'll take that. Again, I've got this set to the default setting for if it was a Joy-Con, so to be fair, the amount of travel that is on the wheel isn't as much as it could be. But I also remember playing with this before, and all the other settings I had made it nigh on impossible to actually turn the corners. Typically though, I was just about to say I feel like I'm doing really well for a change as I just slam into corners over and over again. Well, again, that seems to be relatively easy to use. It does make a lot of sense, and if you have used an RC car with one of these before, then you shouldn't have any issues with it. Well, that's the racing controllers for racing games, but how well do the other things stack with this? Come on, Mr. Chainsaw, it's your turn to see how well you can drive the car! L1... Right, so R1 is here, L1 is here, L2, R2. So... how can I have it accelerate there and brake on that? Then my hand's massively out the way if it is. What's it think it is? So it thinks it's a DualShock controller, which it is, and it's got vibration on, which that's never going to get old. Oh, that's actually the start button. I didn't realise that. It actually says start on it. So we got shift up, shift down, that's accelerate. So I want accelerate on R1 and L1. Can I have that? No. I can't change it from the default settings because I'd much rather have the accelerate on the trigger here and the brake on this one there, but we're just going to have to go with the default for this. Although I am interested to see what the up and down motion is going to do. It might just be accelerate or brake, who knows. This is something I've never noticed on this one before as well. This is actually number 222 out of what appears to be 50,000. Never really looked at that before.
3, 2, 1, go! Here we go. 3 less.
Right, not really sure that's doing anything. I mean, the analogs work. I'd be surprised if the analogs didn't work, to be honest. Again, this is just a regular controller in the shape of a chainsaw. It's all it is, with motion controls and vibration. So if I do worse than the RC controller or one of the other Namco controllers, that's actually going to be pretty embarrassing. Now I can already feel that this is slightly irritating just due to how close the buttons are all together, and also the fact that they're relatively small as well. But yeah, oh, I can't tell, is it braking? I don't think it's braking. No. Well, I'm not surprised, that was super simple. I mean, it's a regular controller, but it's a chainsaw. How many times do I have to say it? If it didn't work well, I would have been impressed. May as well try the other Resident Evil controller while we're here, kind of makes sense really, but again, can't imagine this is going to be bad. Where's Cross? Is that Cross? Okay, that's Cross. So, brake is here.
3 less.
I mean, this just feels like I'm holding a regular PlayStation controller, but I've got a finger on a trigger instead to accelerate. That's about the only difference. Oh, I do like the fact that the brake is this massive button that does have those little dimples, so you know you're pressing the right one as well though. This might actually be my preferred way of playing it. As much as I do like the Jog-Cons and the Nedcons, this is really super simple to use. Also feels nice as well because the actual arms are a lot longer than a normal pad, and as I said, I've only got childlike hands, so this is actually fitting and gripping really nicely. You would have thought that an ergonomic controller for a survival horror game would be the best thing to play a racing game with. Well, I've not been paying attention to my lap times, but I'm pretty certain if I was to look back through the footage, which future Tom will do, this will probably be the fastest one yet. Here's where I'm certain things aren't going to work properly though. Maybe it's got to be in port 2? You know, I really wanted to try and race with this, and I was pretty certain it wasn't going to work, but I really did at least want to give it one go. That's not a good start, is it? So this is going well. I can't actually get the controller to go into either of the two PlayStation ports. Again, I've never actually tested this one, and as you can see from the amazing condition it's in, I never bothered to even test it when I bought it, mainly because I didn't pay anything for it. I just grabbed it because I knew what it was from a shop that I worked at, because they were getting rid of a load of controllers. I'm also not going to spend the time here trying to tinker with it when I have all of this other rubbish to try and play with. It's also a shame because it now means I have to go to one of the other two crap controllers. Time for this monstrosity then. Don't actually have a knife or anything to get into the damn thing. Well, I'm pretty sure that was more effort than this is going to be worth. It's even got pads on the back. Like, what are you meant to do? Put it on a table and then get some little fingers with shoes on to try and pretend that it's played? I mean, considering this thing is brand new, mint out of the box, it's incredibly scratched up. I don't know if you can actually see that in any of the reflections, but why is it in that condition when I've only just taken it out of the box? Well, at least this one went straight into the console, though. Right, accelerate is up there and square's in the bottom. So I might have to like crab crawl this. Turn. You know what, this... I mean, it works. It does what it's meant to be doing. Right, brake is bottom right. Turn, turn! Yeah, that is super unresponsive. Like, you have to mash the button into the pad. Oh my god, what's going on? Stop braking. Turn. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. This is horrible. I feel like I'm playing Dance Dance Revolution while I'm trying to play Ridge Racer, because you have to remember where the buttons are on the pad just to make sure you can actually brake and turn properly. You'd probably be better off just holding on to accelerator all the time, or just letting go of it when you actually wanted to slow down. Yeah, that was straight up garbage. Oh well, time for the lovely skateboard one. I'm sure that's going to be brilliant. Said no one ever in their right mind. Now, while I'm setting this thing up, as I said before, you plug this actually into the console, but because this has no extra buttons, you then need to plug another pad actually into the controller port itself when it's the correct way round, which is apparently this way because I'm an idiot. And the only reason I know that, not that I'm an idiot, is that it faces one direction for the full gamer sign. Right, so to be nice and fair, all I'm going to use the controller for is the accelerator and the brake and changing camera because I can't play in first person. I'm not going to use the D-pad whatsoever, so I'm going to put my other hand behind my back. Oh god. No. It's right, straight. Straight. Turn. Now the problem with this is that it feels like it's a digital controller, and you really do have to shift your weight. And I weigh practically nothing, so for me this is quite... oh god. Quite hard to do. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do a full lap without... oh, come on. Right. Right, we've got this. Turn. No. Yeah. Yeah, oh no. Yeah, this is this sucks. This is one of the worst ideas I've ever had. And I've done a lot of stupid things. Turn. Oh my god, turn! Turn, go left! Go left! Go left! You shouldn't have to put that much weight on this. Oh god, it's another left hand. Yeah, I'm just going to give up because I don't want to anymore. And that was a horrible experience, and I can only imagine it's going to get worse from here on out. So let's try the next game and see how well it goes. Now, to be fair with this one, I've never actually played this, even though I've seen it multiple times and it's always going for cheap on eBay. But as far as I know, it's just a Bust-A-Move clone of some variation. But at least the mouse worked with it. Hopefully, probably should have tested it before I started recording. Worst case scenario though, we don't have to use that wu-tang controller. More than likely still have to use the skateboard controller with it though. Now, according to the actual manual here as well, it doesn't say anything about whether it needs to be in plug 1, port 2, anything whatsoever, so let's just see how it goes. Ah, that's already better than Ridge Racer. Press right button. Yeah, but how do you go up and down? Literally, how do I go up and down? I should really get a mouse mat or something. I generally have no idea what's going to go on here, so as long as you just keep mashing through the buttons, we can at least make it fair for all the other controllers. Well, not gonna lie, I mean, it works exactly as the mouse should, and to be fair, that's really, really good. Oh, yeah, don't press that other buttons though. So really this is a case of it just being Bust-A-Move, I guess, with Arkanoid. I'm sure there's probably something else that I haven't seen yet. But the controller works really well. It's super smooth, it's super responsive, and it's probably going to be the best out the bunch. I can't imagine anything is going to beat this in terms of the controls. The game itself is super colourful as well. It's got a load of other random stats on the right hand side that I assume means something good. Is that for blinds it's saying? Oh. Now see, I would not have been able to get that if I wasn't using the mouse, and I'm pretty sure in the future we are going to be losing a lot of balls. Oh, look at that. This is pretty good. I quite like that. I quite like this. The controller and the game. It's relatively fun. I'm sure it gets ridiculously harder because it's a puzzle game. So that works really, really well. Not really surprised. I mean, it's a mouse. Even though it's a ball mouse, it still works like intended. So let's see how the other crap works. I'm just going to get the skateboard one out of the way because I really don't want to try that again. It really hurts to actually use it and nails my back. Now that I've got a controller in my hands as well, this appears to be another one of those games where circle is the actual proper button you're meant to press. Right then, so same again. I mean, in theory I shouldn't have to press anything on here. I should just be able to just move left and right with this. Oh, I suppose I've got to shoot the ball. Oh. Oh. Well, the fact that I even managed to get to that, I'll take that. Oh, okay. Ooh. Oh no. Oh, it doesn't drop? Interesting. Ain't making that. I mean, it works better than Ridge Racer did. But this is still... Oh god, go over, go left. No, 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 no. I shouldn't have complimented it. That was probably my downfall. Yeah, see, the main problem with this is that it just doesn't seem to want to work on one side. I've skateboarded for years, so I kind of know how to stand on one, but even so, it doesn't really want to go to my heel edge particularly easily. And so I have to put a load of weight on, which feels like I'm actually going to fall into the laptop camera and lighting system I've got over here, which I'd rather not do. Now, as much as I know that this thing's got a D-pad, I'm quite interested to see whether the twist function actually works instead. Alright. What button is fire? Now I should say the cool thing with this is that because it's using the twist, it will always go back to the middle regardless of if I let go of it. That's actually really cool. And probably makes this game a little bit easier than it should be. This might be better. I spoke too soon. I was going to say this is better than the mouse. It's not too hard to hold it in position as well, so you can actually line up the shots how you want them. Oh, go on, have it. Nice. Yeah, this works really well. Man, that title screen lasts literally for like all of 3 seconds before it pisses off again. Right then, this worked so well on Ridge Racer, I'm sure it's going to be amazing with this. I don't know what it is, but this really does not smell nice, and I'm pretty sure controllers shouldn't have a smell anyway. I mean, at least I can test the functionality a bit better now. I mean, it does work. It just feels really nasty. These buttons are like, feel so cheap. There's no sort of actual feel from you pressing them. It doesn't feel like there's a switch or anything. It just feels like a bit of plastic on another bit of plastic. But I mean, this works. It makes it playable, I guess. If I could actually do anything. The only problem is that because they're digital, and you really do need to press them in the right place, especially this left one. This left one, sketchy as. It feels like you don't have as much control, but I mean, this was designed for a dancing game, not for playing a dual Arkanoid ripoff. Perfect though, come on. I gotta give credit where credit's due. Have you ever seen a man play a puzzle game with a chainsaw controller before? No, neither have I. Apparently it won't work because I need to reset it first. What was I using? This. I can't believe that worked. Now, it would be nice if the left and right was somehow, you know, mapped to this. I swear that's... Is it the motor in that that's making that smell weird? Right then, here goes. Why did it vibrate? Oh, it's analog compatible. Oh well, that makes this super easy to do. I mean, I don't have to do anything. It does vibrate though, and I will give it credit for doing that. It's quite a hefty vibration as well, so there must be a pretty big motor inside this. So again, not surprised that this works, because it's got all the buttons of a regular controller. Perfect, with a chainsaw controller as well as a dance pad controller. Happy days. Okay, I'm going to try the RC controller because I don't really see like there's any point doing the Joy-Con. It's probably going to work exactly the same, or it just might not work. Well, you know, screw it, let's try it. Cannot start. Can start, okay. So you can't change the mode on the Joy-Con controller. To be honest, I can't actually remember what it does other than make the little red light pop up. The one thing with this controller that's always made me happy about it is the fact that even though there's giant huge wheels in the middle, the actual controller itself does feel really nice to play with anyway for just regular games. Ah, that's disappointing. So yeah, can't use the actual Joy-Con to actually move, gotta use the digital pad. Yeah, even trying to turn it on and off doesn't do a damn thing either. That's boring, because that just turns this into a regular controller now. And yet the Nedcon works, so maybe that's because that thing's set to be in the analogs as the left and right, and that isn't, but it should be? I don't really know, to be honest. Time for the RC controller then. I should be able to set that up to work pretty much similar to Nedcon because it has the same abilities. See, now that came up on screen and said press B button, but what PlayStation pad has a B button? Which means that I think it is actually recognising that it's a Nedcon plugged into it. Who makes this? Taito. Yeah, it makes no mention of the Nedcon controller or anything, but I mean, it seems to know what it is. Oh, Jesus Christ, what is going on? Is that you centering? Okay, well, other than that scary ass thing at the start of that, yeah, this works exactly. No, I can't. I can only turn that far. Literally can't turn. Why can't I turn any further than that? I can't even use the D-pad to go further. What the hell? That's... Stop it. Stop it. Look at this. How the hell are you meant to play that if you can't turn all the way of the screen, and also it's making that happen when it's trying to drop extra lines? Love it. Feel like a challenge run coming on. Cool, well that's Poochie Carrot done with. You're probably thinking, Tom, you didn't do the other Resident Evil controller, and well, I mean, it's just the same as all the other controllers, just in a gun shape, so I'm just going to skip that one for the minute until we can actually use it for something that might be a little bit more random. So here's an absolute classic, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. I'm sure the skateboard controller is going to be phenomenal because it's designed to be used for it. Instead though, I already have the RC controller plugged in, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that first. Mainly because if I can put off using the skateboard controller for as long as possible, I might feel a little bit better about doing all of this. I mean, that works already, so that's cool. Right, well this seems to work already, so that's a promising start. That's also jump, so happy days. Cool, cool. So obviously we can't do any manuals or anything, but you know, spinning, not really an issue. I only got 2 directions for tricks, but obviously there is the D-pad, which I could just cheat to if I wanted to use that instead. Grinding's not so hard either. That's pretty good, to be honest. I mean, it feels the same as using a regular pad, just I'm using the big wheel to just turn left and right. But I mean, if I wanted to, there is the D-pad here anyway, and I could just play with that instead. Yeah, that's quite fun. I'm sure this is going to be absolutely brilliant. Well, apart from the buttons being absolutely massive, which you would think would be a great advantage to have, the fact that they're all in the different places to where they should be makes it really quite awkward to do any tricks. The also massive issue of it being a digital controller means that you really don't have much control, and it doesn't seem to hold the actual button down. So if I was to say hold and do a spin, it seems fine like that, but even though I didn't land it, yeah, if I try and do it the opposite way, it kind of takes a while for it to actually register that I've done it. And also because, I mean, this isn't designed to be playing Tony Hawk's on, but jump is now in the top left corner, whereas grabs and flip tricks are now on the right hand side as well, so a little bit more awkward. Although, it is working, I guess. Chainsaw controller? Plays exactly like you would assume it would do. Although, something's turning it in the air. Typical. Right. And now it's spinning for the world. Like, I'm literally not doing anything. Interesting. Well, I mean, it works. If I could figure out why it's doing that. I guess the motion sensor on the inside is doing it. Aha! Not landing. Well, I mean, this works again exactly like a controller should do, so not really any surprises there. What else we got? Right then, Nedcon. You're kidding me. I quite wanted to actually have a go with this, but apparently not so. Sweet, the mouse is recognised and doesn't do anything. I mean, much like the Nedcon, I really wanted to try and play Tony Hawk's with this, but not really surprised it doesn't work. Which means we now have the skateboard controller. However, as another controller has to be plugged into it, so I can also do this Resident Evil controller at the same time. I've also just read what this hunk of crap says on the sticker. It says the official option for gamers. By who? Who endorses this? No one. Well, unsurprisingly, turning left and right is not great because you have to put so much weight behind it. And spinning in the air is going to be an impossible thing. Can I manual? I mean, technically yes. Can I manual further than that? No. I mean, to be fair, this is actually pretty good. Again, I mean, this is garbage, but this Resident Evil controller, your trigger is your ollie, so, and the way the buttons are laid out isn't actually too bad. I don't mind missing the L1 and R1 buttons. Oh no, actually they're in the middle. Oh Christ. Yeah, so that's pretty impossible to do in pressing those to actually spin. Actually, oh Christ, I've completely forgot about reverting. Yeah, that's right. See, because these are laid out in a way that you would assume is like a regular controller, but they're not the buttons in the right places, so you go to do, say, oh I don't know, an ollie and then a kickflip. Well, your kickflip's down here and this is your grab, so it doesn't work. I'm sure you can probably get your head around it though to make it work. Quite a fun challenge though. But this skateboard thing is one of the worst things I've ever bought in my life. As we've got this in my hand, so may as well start playing some Resident Evil games. Now, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't already know how bad this was going to be, so let's just keep the Resident Evil 2 controller plugged in and we'll see how everything functions.
Resident Evil 4.
That's usually a good sign that this should work because it's already picking up the controller button presses through the skateboard controller, so hopefully this Resident Evil 2 controller works for Resident Evil 4. And hopefully I don't have to use the skateboard. That's, why are we... Leon, why are we looking at the sky, bro? Slight problem. Don't really know what's going on. But, let's see if we can shoot the crow. Alright, spin, spin, no, back. Yep. Up. I did that with a skateboard controller. However, playing the rest of this is going to be pretty much impossible because I can't see what the hell's going on. I wonder why that is. Does it need an analog stick? I'm going to plug in another controller and just see what happens. Ah. Then it's something to do with you. this doesn't function whatsoever. I mean, it functions in terms of lighting up, but in terms of actually doing anything in the game, no. Now in theory, again, because I can set this up as any controller I want, this should be relatively good. Right then. Left, right. Let's give it the benefit of doubt and restart from checkpoint. So that's still X, so that means that's actually technically going to be fire, and that's run. But if I set U to be that, so now I've got aim on this trigger, but I've also got fire on this one. The only problem is that I now have to make the run button go over my hands like this to actually make it work, which is a little bit awkward. Yeah, that button. Alright, alright. Dive out the window. Ow. Get him. Get him. Well, yeah, if you wanted to play a really challenging version of Resident Evil 4, then by all means, get one of these Ascii controllers. You can probably map it to do quite a lot of things. Really though, we all know the reason I chose Resident Evil 4 is so I have an excuse to use this thing. I've never actually played Resident Evil with it, so I don't really know how it works either. I mean, I'm guessing because all the buttons are here, it's just going to work like normal. I mean, yes, you've got R1 under here for aim, L2 under here for knife, the start button up here. But, to be honest, surely this is just going to function. Ooh. Well, that's something I didn't know. It actually brings up the aim mode when you bring it up. I can feel that there's like a little weight on the inside. Listen on the microphone. Sounds pretty cool, but I thought you were going to be able to aim with this, but to be fair, it's a chainsaw, it's not a gun, so that kind of makes more sense. However, what this does mean is I now have to hold this in a really awkward way just to play the game, because I constantly have to have it tilting down. Oh. So yeah, that's the main issue I'd say with this, is that this isn't as responsive as I would want it to be. So getting surrounded by people and trying to shoot them and also then run up to them kicking them is going to be quite awkward to do when it gets proper heated. Still though, really happy with this. I mean, it's a chainsaw controller. I've never once played with it. It's fun. Time for the last game though. And as I have a load of Street Fighter games, I just picked off the first one I saw on the shelf. So we're going for Street Fighter Alpha Anthology. And as this thing's already still plugged in, we may as well start with this as well. So thinking about it, because there's 3 strengths to punching and kicking, that means that I'm going to have to either remap the buttons, or I'm not going to be able to do certain moves. Now, as before, this is just a regular controller, so I'm not expecting to like completely do massive amounts of damage, but I'd be surprised if I can't at least just pull off some moves. Yo, is that not R1? screw it. I was trying to use the trigger, but I've obviously not. Yeah, that's going to be heavy punch. I'm not sure anymore, but I think that button might be broken. Sod off, blanket. Huh. Well, now that I know not to press the other button. Oh. Yeah, this is just really awkward to play with, primarily because this comes out so fast, so you can't get your hands very close to the actual buttons themselves. But the analog stick and D-pad do work. Oh my god. Ah! Well, that's what I get for trying to be cocky with a chainsaw controller. Let's see how something else works, if it works. Now, in theory, I should be able to do special moves super easily because I have nothing but 4 massive directional buttons, but if I can even throw Hadouken, I'll be happy. Ha! Shoryuken? I mean, the problem is that this just isn't going to happen, is it? Oh my god, this is garbage. Right, let's try and win a round. What's heavy kick? I thought that was heavy kick. Jump. Jump. Why can't I jump anymore? It's lighting up. I can't believe I can throw Hadouken though, just like that. The worst product I bought, apart from the skateboard. Now again, because I can program this to whatever buttons I want, it's going to be quite fun, but I can't really do anything with this is the issue. I don't really know what it's going to do. So that's punch. I mean, in theory, you could probably find a character where you just have something that will go all the way back, but because this is just left and right, there's no down movement in between. So, on technicality, I can lose the round while talking, but I can use this horrible D-pad, which really does cut your hands up, because it's so sharp and small. Ah, this actually really hurts to use. Even trying to roll is like nigh impossible to try and do any specials. Oh my god, just throw Hadouken. Can one of these controllers at least let me win a bloody game against someone? I mean, am I surprised that this works? No, not really. Did I just want to make sure that it didn't go back to the title screen? Pretty much. I will say though that the actual D-pad isn't that nice for fighting games, and to be fair, there's not that many actual D-pads that are nice for fighting games that I come across, which is primarily why I use arcade sticks. I do find them to be a lot better. Mainly because they don't have sharp ass edges like this, cut your hands. You... come here. It's also too easy to jump with this. I mean, I'm trying to do a Shoryuken and yet it seems to be jumping in the air all the time. I mean, I know what I'm doing, but is that the controller's fault or is that my fault? I'm literally not even pressing up. God damn it. Why is the best controller for this the one that's meant to be for Resident Evil? Right, in theory this shouldn't be too bad, although the buttons are in the completely wrong layouts, but... oh my god, why? I mean, functionally it works, but... oh god, there we go. But, I mean, that's just a regular D-pad, so really I have no excuses this time whatsoever, but still, well, I guess it's starting to not dig into my hands. I just don't know where any of the buttons are. Right then, if we can just keep them away. Don't know why I said it. Last controller then, because I'm not trying the skateboard one. And can't say that I'm surprised that it's not working. So all in all, quite a fun bunch of controllers, some of them better at certain games than others, unsurprisingly. However, the ones that are pretty much just a regular controller, just in a different shape, really fared the best. The chainsaw controller is pretty unique, and it is a really nice centerpiece to have in a collection. While it looks really cool, it's actually really uncomfortable to use. Same can be said for the Ascii controller. It works really well for racing games, as do the Joy-Con and Nedcon, but when you try and play any other games with them, if they're functionally able to, it doesn't really work particularly well, especially that D-pad. It's really sharp and can cut your hands. And even though the buttons are really tightly packed and you can customize it however you want, it doesn't really help because there's no real nice way of holding the controller. I'm a little bit pissed that my wu-tang controller doesn't work, so I'm going to have to look into why that is, but to be honest, can't really say that I'm surprised. I thought it was a junk thing when it came into the shop to begin with. And I do kind of wish that the mouse worked on more than one game, but for the game that it did work with, it did do a really good job. Probably the best one out of the bunch. The dance pad and the skateboard are what I would class as your typical bargain bin items. It's no wonder I found them for so cheap on eBay because no one wants to actually keep them or use them. These are the sort of things that your relatives would be like, oh, you're into computer games, oh, and you like skateboarding, I've bought you this, you can be like Timmy Hawk. But in reality, they're just a gimmick, they don't really work, and considering you have to plug a pad into the skateboard one completely defeats the object of using it as a controller to begin with. And I can understand the dance pad one because you don't have to have a massive dance pad and have to have that noise going on all the time as you're slamming into the floor. But the thing is just completely useless, it barely functions when you want it to anyway, and half the buttons don't seem to register in half the game. So this has been quite a laugh, hasn't it? My hands are completely hurting and I really want to just go sit down on a nicer chair. So all in all, I'm not even sure if this was a waste of time or not. But if you've tried any of these controllers or have ones yourselves that you think are completely unique, then give me a shout and let me know, because I'm always interested in seeing other ones. It's an unhealthy addiction that I need help with. And like I said, I've got a crap ton of light guns as well, and thanks to this lovely 14-inch CRT TV, I can actually play them again. But until then, I've been Tom from VPG Gaming. Thanks for watching, have a great gaming day.